Welcome to Dubs Talk Live, presented by Mancini Sleep World. I'm Zena, joined by the legendary Warriors insider, Monte Poole.
Wow.
It's been a while since we've hung out, Monte.
Yeah. Been a lot of you and Carrot lately, but
I know.
you slid me in the night. So
I
I'm
love
happy
it.
To be here.
I'm happy to be here with you.
Yeah.
I think tonight was a very special night in general.
For sure.
If there was a lot of anticipation around this night, the Warriors won an emotionally charged game against the Atlanta Hawks, 134-112. Monte, you've been around the team in the last few days as they got ready for this game. The Warriors have not taken the court in a week since the tragic passing of their assistant coach, Dejan Milojevic, as they were known to the team, Coach Decky.
Yeah.
Thinking about the way that they opened tonight with the tribute, I think that was one of the things that there was anticipation around. What did you make of that tribute?
Emotional. There's his family there, his wife and his son, his daughter. It was unusual in the sense that usually they have a moment of silence, for this.
Right.
But Decky, that didn't seem appropriate for Decky, And so after watching the celebration of his life in Serbia earlier this week, you kind of got the sense that the Warriors, that's what Decky would want,
right.
And that really embodies who Decky was. So it was really a lot of emotions. You saw guys that were teary-eyed, even all the way before they got up to the tip-off. So it's one of those things that when someone is so close to you for so long, such a part of your family, this is a family, this is a death in the family. And some of these guys saw it.
Yeah.
So that makes it even more tragic and more difficult to process.
Right.
So it's going to be with them for a while. I mean, I think tonight this celebration really is what it was. It celebrated Decky's presence.
Yeah.
And talking to people before the game, I talked to Kenny Atkinson and Chris Williams, a couple of assistant coaches who worked closely with Decky, and they were both like, the amount of pain that's still present,
Still raw.
Yeah.
Still super
and
raw.
Chris talked about how he said, it's weird. He said it's the presence of his absence,
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting way to put
it.
it.
Yeah. And that's what he said. I said, yeah, but I get it because Decky was such a huge presence.
Yeah.
And it's not there. And so this team is going to need some time to process this whole situation, this whole loss. And tonight was just a step forward to try and get back. I won't even say normalcy. I say a step toward trying to get to a point where you can become closer to what you would want to be as a basketball team, but they still have a long way to go.
For sure. For those of you that weren't in the building, it was a pregame ceremony with a video tribute at first, and then Coach Kerr had a very emotional speech giving that description as to why they wanted to do a standing ovation as opposed to a moment of silence and honoring him. And it was very beautiful to see the Atlanta Hawks also be a part of this. Bojan Bogdanovic on the other side, as well as their assistant coach, Igor, they both Serbian brothers, in that Brate concept, and that, those T-shirts were being worn by both teams. Representing what Decky meant to both Serbia, to basketball. And then after the standing ovation, they had the Serbian national anthem play as well.
That was a great touch.
Yeah.
It really was a great touch. And you noticed, I mean, when I came into the building a few hours before the game, and everybody was wearing the Brate shirts, the black T-shirts, the right Brate, and the heart DM on above the Brate. Both teams. Coaches were wearing it. I mean, there were ushers who were wearing the shirts,
all around.
And then as the celebration was going, as Steve was speaking, you noticed the Hawks still had the shirts on. The Warriors had their jerseys on, but their jerseys, on the back of the jerseys,
they were all Milojevic jerseys.
Milojevic. So it was like, and then at the end of the conclusion of the ceremony, they all took their jerseys off one at a time and laid them on the chair where he would have been sitting. And his wife just, I mean, she broke down, and I get it because, I mean, my God, 46 years old and so sudden, and the man was so full of life that this is just going to be difficult for them. And I think tonight wasn't about relief. Tonight was really about just trying to take a little step toward doing what you normally would be doing.
I will be honest with you all. I was a mess on press row.
Stuff.
It was not easy to be in that moment. It was not easy, especially seeing all the Milojevic jerseys being laid, and then also seeing his wife passing and being just so emotional on the screen. But it was a beautiful tribute, and I think that the Warriors needed that. It was an abrupt change to the start of the game. I mean, there were players still wiping off tears as the fireworks went off, but they needed to flip the page. They needed to get back into this, and that is important. They have a season to play. You know, you can't ignore that. And so I do want to make sure we talk about the game for sure, but I wanted to make sure we touched on that moment.
We have to, because, you know, this, like I said, this is like a death in the family. And not only just the death in the family, but a death in the family of probably the most popular member of the family. I mean, everybody loved this guy.
Everyone loved him.
Everybody loved him. And the Brate, that's how he greeted people from the time you met him. You know, he just met you, and you first met me, he's like, hey, Brate, you know. And so that was just who he was. And so watching this pregame ceremony was just, I thought it was very appropriate. The team needed it. And I think it took them a while to kind of get out of it. You know, that first half was kind of uneven. Then they got together.
So what's interesting about games like this, events like this, when something so tragic, so emotionally charged happens to, especially in sporting events, there's always something really special that happens. I used to work for the Miami Dolphins, and I remember when the Miami Marlins lost their pitcher, number 16, Jose Hernandez, and the next day, D. Gordon hit a home run, the only home run that he had hit that season. Ran around the bases, fully sobbing, in tears, pointing up. And I feel like tonight, a special moment happened. And that is going to be my transition to tonight's BMW Ultimate Performer of the game. And that was Jonathan Kaminga. In his last 4 games, he has had over 20 points. He has performed incredibly well. In his last 10 games, he's averaged just over 18 points, taking only 12 shots, averaging just over 58% from the field. He has been the definition of efficient, and tonight was no other story. I call him now, from now on, he is no longer Jonathan Kaminga in my mind. He is Jonathan, come in and get a bucket. Okay? Because that is exactly what he was doing. He was also scoring in hard ways. Right? Finding his path to the basket, taking defenders. I know Jalen Johnson is going to go to bed tonight screaming, thinking of what Jonathan Kaminga was doing.
Yeah, you know, and I asked JK after the game, I said, you know, you didn't take 1 3-pointer tonight. Not one.
Didn't
even try one. I said, well, did you decide before the game you're going to be in attack mode? You know, because that's what you saw him doing. Attack, attack, attack. And that's when he's at his best. He should shoot the open 3. But threes are just a part of his game. It's not the major part of his game, not the best part of his game. He's at his best when he's going to the rim and just crushing people. And he's able to do that. And tonight, you know, to take 11 shots and make every single one of those shots. Didn't miss a single shot. So when you look at that and you look at the fact that, you know, he also rebounded well. He had 9 rebounds. So he had a nice, this to me might be his best game of the season. And he's had, and I say that, he's had some really good games, but when you don't miss a shot and you also grab 9 rebounds, you know, I really like, I mean, he was plus 18 tonight. So, yeah, he's had some great games, but tonight, I can't think of a game that he had this season that was more complete in more ways than this one tonight.
And I love the word complete because it's particularly what the Warriors have really been needing, right? When you think about when the way that the Warriors started this season, they've been needing someone to go alongside Steph Curry, right, in terms of scoring. And you saw tonight, Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, 24 points, 25 points, needing one more scorer to break it open. And I thought that the balance scoring across the Warriors roster was wonderful, but JK particularly being able to be that third scorer was huge. I would like to also ask you a question. Ask you a question, though.
Drum roll.
How much do you think Draymond's return contributed to the success of Jonathan Kaminga?
Well, JK shouted out Draymond in the postgame. You know, he said, Draymond's been in my ear, and he's been telling me these things, you know. And basically, he said at practice, Draymond pulled him aside and said, just do you, be you. You know, he said, don't overthink it. Just play. And I think that's what JK sometimes does, overthinks it. But he specifically mentioned Draymond as being someone who has been really helpful to him. And I think, again, you know, fans, you know, Jonathan's name comes up every now and then as a possible trade. And the Warriors I'll reiterate this. The Warriors do not want to trade Jonathan.
Yeah.
They understand he's under their salary control. He's not making a ton of money, and they see his future. If they do decide to trade him, it tells me at least that they have decided that whoever they're getting in return is someone who can help them right now, and they're thinking more about right now than the future because JK is 21 years old.
JK is the future.
yeah.
The way he is playing, the way he is, that third-year leap is happening in front of our eyes, and the way that he is attacking the basket is exactly what the Warriors need.
Exactly.
For sure right now.
You're seeing why they don't want to trade him.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I still don't think they will. I don't think they will. But the only reason why they might consider trading him is because teams want him.
Right.
And you see why. He's 21, not making a ton of money. So I just think that, JK is going to be with this team because this team is they have the highest payroll in the league.
Yeah.
And JK is not a big part of that high payroll.
And I know he wants to be a part of that. The way he's playing, he deserves it.
Exactly.
Completely makes sense.
This year, you're seeing him become the guy that they thought he would be when they drafted him. And so I think that's a big part of this. And so he still has another year and at a relatively manageable rate, pay rate. So I think right now, definitely want to hang on to him. And nights like this tell you why.
For sure. Now let's get back to Draymond. I know we just ran some clips of how he performed tonight. This was Draymond's first home game back at Chase Center since his 12-game suspension
over a month.
Way back in December, right? That December 17th incident with Jusuf Nurkic. He hasn't played at Chase Center. He came back in tonight, loud standing ovation, and I thought he played phenomenally, particularly because he hit his three-point shots. He played well on the defensive end. He hedged perfectly, I think, on the man-to-man screens or the on-ball screens, and then did the thing that the Warriors always need him to do, which is direct traffic. What'd you make of his game?
Draymond was really good. The energy was there. He only played 23 minutes, so he's still in the 20s, and I think he'll probably come off the bench until he gets around 30, maybe a couple more games. But when you watch what he did tonight, he was 5 of 6 from the field, which, again, you don't look for him to score a lot. But he took 6 shots and he scored 12 points, which you take that every single time. 5 rebounds, 3 assists, so 2 steals, a block, So with Draymond, at his best, it's about his activity and production. Activity first. Because he does things that the other teammates get fired up about.
Correct.
Especially on defense. So tonight, Draymond was a huge part of this thing in terms of what he was able to do, being the engine sort of behind what this team was able to do, especially in the second half with their defense, because they held these guys to 38% in the second half, and Draymond was a big part of that.
You saw him take that charge. You see him sacrificing his body, right? These are the types of things that make him the leader that the Warriors absolutely need. So I do want to talk about the bench because Draymond did come off the bench, and so did JK, right? And the bench has been a storyline for the Warriors all season long. It wasn't changing tonight, folks. They were phenomenal as well. Talk to me a little bit about the fact that Draymond is coming off the bench, JK is coming off the bench. These are people that have started, right? Does this actually reflect depth for the Warriors?
It does. It does. I mean, I still think that there are going to be some more adjustments going along. Their starting lineup has only played 2 games, the one that started tonight. And, maybe tomorrow they may start again. But I think at some point, Draymond will be back in the starting lineup. And the question becomes, can you play Draymond with Jonathan? And I think that's what they're trying to figure out right now. If Draymond plays like he did tonight and JK plays like he did tonight, you can play them together. You can play them together. And then, who do you have else out there with them besides Steph and Clay? Because you do need someone who can be another defender on the perimeter besides JK. And so these are things we're trying to figure out. But, I like what Draymond did. And he and JK, I think, can play together, and we'll see where it goes.
Oh, well, absolutely. Well, there was another person that in the midst of the tragic passing of Decky, Coach Kerr called a rock star in the way that he looked out for himself and his teammates and making sure that their emotions were cared for. He was someone that was incredibly close to Decky in the sense of just relationship from overseas basketball and also now being on this team, and that was Dario Saric. He's actually at the podium right now. Let's see what he had to say about tonight's game.
I know you were in particular super close to Decky. Can you just talk a little bit about what he meant to you and what your relationship with him was like?
he really had like a great impact on me for such a short period of time. I mean, just the way our conversation were heading, you know, how we see the basketball maybe a little bit different way than actually here in the States. We would kind of like go talk about that, you know. We will kind of go against each other about some situations, about videos, you know, like he was thinking I should do something like this, or in my opinion, I was thinking like I should do it different. So we have like some kind of relation, like, you know, he was like my older brother, you know, he was kind of person, he could tell me in a way, you know, in a positive way, like, Dario, you stupid, you know, but I will not get that too hard. And I know because he wants me like to do better, you know, to do a situation better, because he's trusting in my ability to play basketball. So he's just such a positive person, smiling always, you know. When I'm in bad mood, he was kind of like bringing up, you know, and that kind of stuff, you know. Great mentor, you know. We kind of came up from the similar backgrounds, you know, back in Europe. So having him, it was like really blessed for me. And, you know, I never had a coach like him, you know, in that short period, have like great impact on me, you know, like mentally to be able to play basketball, you know, give me the details on the court, how to play, you know, how to do some situation better, what's going to keep me on the floor and that kind of stuff. So, you know, just, I mean, amazing guy, amazing person, smiling always, you know. He was kind of coach, you know. He got his own way of coaching. So it's like you need just to listen to him, you know. Like sometimes, you know, guys have a like situation, maybe they don't like the coach, the way how he is approaching that kind of stuff. But Deki was like kind of that, you know. He got his own system of working. And for you, it's only like you just jump on that, you know, just feel that way of working, how he is working. And he was just, you know, great coach, you know, putting things on the details, you know. I think, you know, coming on the practice, and you see the bigs kind of like playing one-on-one, you know, sweating against each other, you know, bumping against each other, and other guys was just shooting before practice. You know, we were playing like once, you know, almost like every day when we got time. It's just like his way of working, you know, and we were just like.
When we come back, we'll talk about what the Warriors did in that third quarter to break the lead open. Defense, baby. Don't go anywhere. It's Dubs Talk Live.
Dubs Talk Live is presented by Mancini Sleep World. Visit Mancini Sleep World. We'll pay the sales tax on select mattresses. Or visit sleepworld.com.
What's up, YouTube? Hope all of you are doing well. I am currently opening up the link so I can actually find out what you guys are saying. But I imagine all of you are incredibly happy for the Warriors. I imagine anyone across the league is, you know, happy for the Warriors.
This is a feel-good moment, you know. You know, I don't know if it's entirely cathartic because they're still going to feel this for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at least for now, it's like, okay, tonight we were able to kind of play basketball, carry Decky with us while we played, and win a game, which is the first step. I mean, this team has got a lot to go through, and we'll have a lot to go through in the coming months. But, you know, you do literally take it 1 second at a time.
That's when I saw Coach Q before the game, and I saw Yusuf on Steph Curry's security, and I hugged the both of them and just, you know, ask them. Like it was actually I didn't even ask them. I just hugged them, and the hug was just a little bit longer than it typically is. And I pulled back and I just looked at them, and both of them separately. But Q said, "Just day by day."
Yeah,
And
it really.
and then Yusuf was just like, every minute, just going through it.
Yeah, I
And it
mean,
was just like they're all sensing it still.
when something like this happens, and I don't care how old you are,
Yeah.
someone who's so close to you and that's so full of life,
Yep.
so vibrant,
Yep.
and they're gone. I mean, how can you not at least temporarily go, wow, that can happen to anybody, anytime, any day?
Right.
And you think about that a little bit. So yeah, it really is. Enjoy what you have.
All righty, guys, we're back on the show. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Dubs Talk Live, presented by Mancini Sleep World. We're here breaking down the Warriors' win against the Atlanta Hawks, 134-112. But that score wasn't looking quite like that in the beginning. The first half of the game was a little bit tighter
Yes.
than the Warriors probably would have wanted it. Even, Pods mentioned that they did not have a strong start
No.
to the game.
And I think we can understand that.
And I think everyone, Steve Kerr told them that they could expect having a rough start. But one thing that was noticeable, the Atlanta Hawks put up an enormous amount of shots to start in that first quarter. And then things kind of evened out in the second quarter. But it was clear that going into the half, whoever stepped up on defense in the third quarter was going to win the game because things were entirely neck and neck.
Yeah.
The way that the Warriors were shooting from inside in the paint, the Hawks were shooting from outside. And then also vice versa when you reverse it. Flip it and reverse it. Missy Elliott, okay? That's what it was for them. Then third quarter came, and the Warriors got a much needed boost. You saw zones thrown out. You saw man-to-man defense going out, and you saw that man in the middle, Draymond, watching it all, making everything difficult. You saw them playing aggressively. You saw them connected. Hands were everywhere. I just loved the activity that the Warriors were showing.
Yeah, this is the kind of effort that you want to see from the Warriors, and this is the way. I mean, Decky as a player, that's what he was known for. Really a high motor, as they say.
Wow,
He
look
never
at that.
stopped. And this is the kind of defense you want to see guys get. They're scrappy. They're scrambling. They're rushing, and they're getting in the right places. They're all of a sudden, some of those slow rotations are sped up now.
Yes, that's
some
exactly
of
what I
those slow
noticed.
closeouts are like
Yes.
fast now. So that's what you want to see from this team. And when they do that, you find that their defense is actually pretty good.
Yep.
So tonight in that third quarter, to kind of hold this team to 30% in the third quarter, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And that's kind of thing you're looking for. If the Warriors can play defense at a level like that, not every game, you're going to hold teams to 30%, but
Yep.
if they can get back to a level they're playing decent defense, they can find some traction. Because this team defense in the last month and a half has just been pretty bad.
It's been rough, and particularly that on ball,
Yes.
right? That first point of contact as they cross half court, being able to stop the ball. And that's what I love seeing in those clips was the quick rotations to the person with the ball. You hadn't seen that level of urgency from the Warriors defense. And then also adding on to the fact that the versatility in
Yeah.
defenses, that's huge.
Yeah. I think for this team, when you see that they have the versatility, they're not a big team.
Yeah.
But they're a pretty long team.
Correct.
But to me, it's all about the fundamental stuff. Be what you're supposed to do, be what you're supposed to be, and this defense is actually pretty good. And you saw that in the third quarter. You saw some in the fourth quarter, too, but that third quarter was huge.
Huge. Well, we'll see if they can bring it back on tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what's coming up ahead for the Warriors, because it's not Hollywood, as Steve Kerr said. It's not just one win and it goes away. They got some big games coming up, and we come back, we'll talk about them. Don't go anywhere. It's Dubs Talk Live. All righty, folks. I now have our comments back
Hey,
up.
there we go.
Lots of people just saying
Who's
it's
talking
been
to
a
us?
great win.
Yeah.
There's just what a beautiful and moving tribute from Shannon. Can't imagine how difficult it was for everyone. I think that was like the biggest thing in everyone's mind is just like, how do you shift from sobbing over your family member
Yeah.
to then being like, the starting lineups.
Yeah.
The ball is tipped. You now have to play a game.
The first half was, there was 9 days since they played a game at all.
Yeah.
And 7 days since Decky passed away. And so there's been a lot going on aside from basketball in that time.
Yep.
And so, yeah, you expect them to be rusty. They were. But at halftime, they kind of started to pull themselves together. Third quarter, they came out, started to build a little bit of momentum. And by the midway of the third quarter, they said, okay, let's play basketball now.
Yeah.
As Steph and Steve were saying before the game, you got lost in the game. And
I
that's what you
love
want to
that. Being lost in the game is one of the privileges of getting to play a sport.
Yeah.
Is letting that be your refuge.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so interesting and unique about the situation is that what's supposed to be your refuge is actually your place of pain.
Yeah.
And so trying to make that your refuge again is
Yeah.
such a challenge.
That's the hard part.
But tonight was the first step.
Yeah, and I think for these guys, because all these guys played basketball most of their lives.
Yeah.
And so I think, that's a big part of, like you said, that refuge is a great word because that's kind of what it is right now, and it's not going to be, okay, we're good now, but temporary, you take that and you start from there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys, let's close this out tonight. Well, the Hawks were just the first game in the Warriors' challenge to get back into shape, get back into rhythm, and close out the second half of this season. Kings come into the building tomorrow. That's always an exciting game. And then the Lakers on Saturday, 76ers to close out this homestand. Thoughts on these upcoming games, Monte?
Well, 3 games in 4 nights is always tough, but you know what? That means you're getting back into it day one. I mean, this is not like you're going in the deep end.
Correct.
And so a win tonight, you want to see get something going. I think every game they play from here on out, again, needs to be taken not just even possession by possession, second by second, and focus as much as you can because you're getting out of a place where your mind has been so foggy because of what's happened, and you understand that. But little by little, it'll get better.
Yep.
It may take it's going to take some time. But I think every game should get you a little bit closer to where you want to be. Maybe by the end of the year, they'll be there. Maybe.
The Warriors have a tremendous uphill battle in front of them to not only mentally get themselves back into this game and the game of basketball, but then realizing they have to close out this season on a positive note.
Yeah.
And they started the front half of the season a little bit rough. So they got some work to do. But tonight, they did what needed to be done.
Yeah.
They won for Decky. Warriors won 134-112. Last thoughts?
I just think that this is a good start, and again, it's about getting together and staying together. They're a brotherhood.
All right. Well, that's all, folks. Thanks for joining us on Dubs Talk Live. Enjoy the rest of the night. Good night, brates. All righty, folks. Otis Bird, brutal schedule coming up.
3 and 4 nights. I mean, the Kings are a good team. There won't be an easy win, especially coming off the back-to-back. I think the Lakers are kind of right now where the Warriors are. They're trying to figure some things out. The Sixers, Joel Embiid. Ooh, let's put it this way. You don't want to think about him until you have to.
Right.
Ooh, I mean,
so true.
He put up a 70
so
bomb. So right now
I'm just like, what happened to the NBA's defense?
Yeah, well.
2 people put up 60-plus games in one night?
Yeah, 2 big men.
2 big men?
And they said that centers are dead in the NBA a few years ago. No more centers. It's not a centers league. Well,
absolutely not.
Look at the last couple of MVP winners.
There you
Jokic,
go.
Jokic
Embiid.
twice.
Correct,
and this year, right now, number 1 guy might be Embiid again, the way he's playing. So,
right.
I mean, so you got to deal with Joel on Tuesday. And man, oh man, I mean, Loon, Dario, Trace, Draymond, boy.
Yeah.
Trace is going to get another lesson from a master.
Yes, he is.
But it'll be good for him.
I was just going to say, it's going to be great for him because he got lessons from the master when he played against Jokic that first go-round, right, the Joker. And I think that tonight was not a great game for Trace.
No.
It was not a great game for Trace for various reasons. But I do feel like when he goes up against these higher levels of competition, he meets the bar.
Yeah.
I think he does stand up to the challenge, and he's definitely going to have to stand up to the challenge. Particularly, I'm thinking, obviously, you got Sabonis coming in.
Yep.
You got Cam Wood coming in,
Yeah.
and then you got Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying Cam Wood. I don't know if Anthony Davis, how he's doing, but there's Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For the Lakers.
Yeah.
So there's a lot on their plate
Yeah.
for these upcoming games, particularly for the big men.
It's like I said, you're putting your foot in the deep end, and so that means you got to go all in and at a tough time.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of challenge you kind of probably need.
Yep.
Teams that will quote unquote get your attention. Mm-hmm. And I think this would be good for the Warriors. But again, 3 and 4 nights is a rough way to start, but they have more games left on their schedule than anybody else because they've had a couple of cancellation or postponements.
That's right.
And so
That's right.
now they've got to play 41 more games after this one. Nobody else has to play that many games.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I just want to close this out. I thought so Shannon mentioned, I felt like I was invading a private moment when the camera panned to Decky's family. And I have to say, Shannon, I felt the same.
Yeah.
And I think that is what particularly made me very emotional, dealing with my own grief. When I saw his wife, I saw my mother. Mm-hmm. And that's when I could not hold
Yeah,
it.
because it's pretty fresh for you. Yeah.
And it's one of those things too where it's like you want to give them their moment and recognize them because they represent him.
Right.
But in that moment, it's so raw.
Yeah. What
and
moment do you find? Yeah.
It's
like,
just
man.
tough.
Yeah.
It's just tough. It was a tough thing. I want to commend everyone that had a hand in this tribute. The delicacy that you could see that everyone took in thinking through how to honor his family, how to make it so that we could be a part of it. Those of us in the crowd, those of us that weren't a part of the team or the coaching staff, it took a lot of work. And so I really do commend the organization and everyone involved for putting that together.
Yeah, great tribute to a man who means so much to this team. If you're a fan, you may not understand what he means, but if you understand what a family dynamic is like and you see a death in the family of a beloved figure in the family, not someone that they're like, oh, no, they love this man.
They love him.
And
They
so
loved him.
that might give you an idea of just what they're feeling right now.
Well, on the very first night since he's gone, they honored him. They ran some of his plays.
Yeah.
They took a shot in his honor.
Yep.
And they won the game. And
Yep.
so congrats to the Warriors on that. And we'll be back tomorrow against the Kings. The Warriors will take on the Kings. So make sure you guys tune in. But thank you so much to our family, NBC Warriors, Sports Bay Area, NBC Warriors family, everyone. We just appreciate you guys for the support and hope you have a wonderful evening.